What's up, everybody? I'm Gymkhana Josh, and welcome to Beyond the Apex, where we talk about motorcycle everything, and then some. And today, there's going to be a lot about that, and then some, actually. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on in our world today. Like, as if the virus, COVID 19, wasn't enough, then on top of that, we get a murder in the streets live on YouTube. Not YouTube, not live on YouTube, but like live on the news, and protests that result from that, rioting that's a result of that, and honestly, just a culmination of so many negative things in our world coming together at one time. You know, I thought about it this week. What we could talk about on the show, and as hard as much as I'd like to just focus on motorcycles and the good things, the sunshine, the rainbows and whatnot, it's real hard to just kind of gloss over the things that are glaring in our face in our community. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world, in the community, and try to also have a pretty good conversation about some motorcycles, get some of that in. Over to my left, you'll see my co-host Butter. He's no stranger to the channel, no stranger to the show. What's up, Butter man? How you doing?
I'm good, family. How you been, man? It's been a while, right? We haven't spoken in like a
Mm-hmm.
week.
Actually, no shit. It was probably well, aside from the couple texts here and there about what we were gonna do this week. Yeah, I really didn't talk to you that much.
Yeah, man. It was a fun week. We had some adventurous stuff going on. We celebrated some birthdays and we hung out. Did a lot of riding this
Hmm.
weekend. Uh, Finally got myself a street
Oh,
bike,
I saw that.
second one.
That's a sexy ass bike, man. That's a really nice bike.
Yeah, so I got the Triumph 675 and the ZX6. Man, I tell you, the power band on that thing is smooth, man.
Which one?
I haven't
The
rode in a
Triumph
six
or
in years.
the six?
Yes, six, man. Shout outs to Hollywood. He always said that bike rose like a beast, and I rode it, and I was like, wow, this is a 600. This is
Yeah,
great. A lot of zip in it, a lot of bang for your buck. It's an amazing bike.
that's an awesome color
So
too.
yeah,
That's a
man.
really unique color too.
Yeah, we had an interesting week. We prepared for some riding
Hmm.
yesterday. Obviously, I'm affiliated with some businesses. We kind of prepared ourselves yesterday, just in case. But thanks to the good Lord, we didn't have to face any uncruel
Hmm.
punishment. But we're here. We're protecting our space. You never know.
Yeah.
So if they come, they will get shot.
Just put it right out there. Let's not beat around the bush,
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm just gonna wait for you to come in and empty out the clip. So I would not want to have to do that to somebody's baby. But if as they say, play stupid games, win stupid
True,
prizes.
true. Actually, it's really crazy too because, um, I mean, in all honesty, this is a really interesting. I don't know. I would maybe not the best word, interesting, but in my lifetime, I feel like this is probably that moment for me that obviously I'm gonna have to tell my kids, have to tell my grandkids, like I survived a pandemic, rioting in New York City too. Of course, we got to do everything big in New York City, so it can't be just peaceful protests and making things happen. Simply, it's got to be crazy, burning, you know, yeah, looting, stuff like that. But if we get through this, this is a period in time where it's definitely something for the history books for sure. And
Absolutely. I mean, they say history repeats itself, and lately, it's been the last 2 years, we've had some serious killing of innocent black men, minorities, Hispanics, and it's sad to say that there's no justice for it. There's no justification for it as
mm,
well. These cops are armed, ready to kill. I think the stigma is that these cops come from suburban areas. A lot of them come from areas where there is no minorities, there's no poor people, and they don't know how to interact. So a lot of it becomes a violent scene.
mm,
I live in I have two places where I stay, and one is a little bit more rougher than the area I'm at most of the time. And a lot of times, man, these cops they come out guns
mm,
drawn. For even a simple moving vehicle. Don't put on the turn signal, turn on the line, they have their guns drawn, and at times I look at it and I say to myself, what was the purpose of that? Did I do something so egregious that you have to put on you pull out your gun? And that's just the way they're taught. They have people policing people they don't know. Someone brought it up today earlier in the on ESPN. So you have these white coaches because there's a big thing now with being this whole minority thing. There's a big thing where these NFL teams, there's not a lot of black coaches. Yet the league is full with 75% players, right? So they all these cops that never grew up in the hood, they're not from the hood, policing people from the hood. And it's kind of counterintuitive because it's like, how can I know your upbringing, where you're coming from, or how you feel if I'm not from where you're from? And I think that's where a lot of the bad policing comes from.
Actually, that brings up a point too. I was talking with some of my coworkers today. I actually got like a real warm, fuzzy feeling from like some of my leadership, some of the higher ups in my organization, and honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to understanding one another. It seems like a really simple, basic thing to just talk to somebody, but honestly, if what you just hit on right there, like somebody you don't know, I think honestly, to be a police officer, you don't necessarily have to know someone individually or like grow up on the same street as somebody to be able to do police work. You just have to be a good human being, have the interests of a human being in mind. I don't know, it's a weird dynamic. But one thing, like I said, that we talked about earlier was that the organization that I work as a part of, big melting pot of different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different styles and flavors and all this other different things. But we have a common goal in mind. There's a common focus between us. And even if we have little racial jokes here and there, or the differences that maybe we can disagree on political issues, we agree on one thing, and that's we have each other's backs, and we're gonna go forward from here. I think a lot of the things that I'm seeing on social media and just in society in general is that people don't have that same type of mentality that we're all in this together. It's you're a black person, I'm a white person, so we're gonna have to go separate paths. That's not necessarily true. If we can all come together and find a common a common focus, a common goal, honestly, a lot of times I think whether you disagree or agree with somebody, you can coexist with them peacefully by having that common goal. And I'm not saying that's the answer to all of our problems, because obviously like the way that the police handle things in different jurisdictions is a little bit different. But
so I give you a little feedback of when I was a young kid. So we used to have this officer named Thomas McGrath, Irish, blue eye, reddish hair. He's as cracker as they come. Cracker. And Officer McGrath was patrolling the worst block in all of Sunset Park, Little Vietnam. And it was drugs, guns, prostitution, whatever you can figure it out, it was on that block. Whatever you needed, it was there. And McGrath was just a patrol cop. It was on the cusp of a Hasidic neighborhood in Borough Park, a borderline Sunset Park. And here they throw this young rookie, Irish ass motherfucking cop. So, everybody already knew that he was going to be the guy that's going to break chops. And it turns out over the years, he actually became one of the best and most influential police officers I've ever met in my life. Graf never took us as minorities. He took us as kids who were part of a bad system. And attitude and his way of thinking was one that you rarely see in the police department. And I'm not saying that there's not police officers like him. There are many. I've met my whole life. I met cops that their interest is to not allow that one child to end up in the wrong hands and not incarcerate them at an early age, maybe teach them the ropes. I remember come raid the block, he would kick me in my butt and tell me, get upstairs, like you don't need to be like that. And he's giving us advice, don't hang out in the corner, go to school. And then things got a little rough. And then, he took it upon himself to get all our kids in our neighborhood, black, we have blacks, Jews, Mexicans, Belizeans, West Indians, we had them all. And he decided to just take us off the block. And when the block was at its busiest time, he would take us to play baseball. He'd put up against other precincts. We would have like a little softball league, football league, and he put a lot of his own money into this program, just trying to keep the kids where he policed out of trouble. I could say 90% of the kids that he actually took on, and we're actually not doing so bad. Uh, we've come across some obstacles in life, but we've come through. We all have pretty decent careers, and I think a lot of that is owed to him because where he could have just segregated us and said, "Fuck these little minority motherfuckers. They're all pieces of shit. They come from crack mothers and they're crack babies," and let me just start locking them up now. He never took that mentality, and he, until this day, like I still give him a shout out every now and then. I text him on the phone like, "Hey, I never forget what you've done," and any success that I've had, I always try to shout him out, and we need more cops like that. There's a lot of cops that do that, but there is also a lot of cops that have a Napoleon. They were picked up in the suburbs. They were probably not the coolest kid, and maybe they went to a school. I mean, it happens. Maybe you went to a school that borderline the hood, so there could have been some minority guys that bullied you and picked on you and pulled your pants and give you some wedgies and shit like that. And then what happens? You become a cop. Now you got a badge and a gun. Now, obviously, you can pass the psychological. You could do all that other stuff, because you're a good kid. You're not a bad human being. You don't smoke crack. You don't kill people. But deep down in your heart, you have that mentality of revenge. All these motherfuckers, and it's there. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own. I've experienced it. I've experienced being, pulled over or questioned by a police officer who I know is from our environment because his approach is very easy and respectable, and then you get Joe Schmo comes out of the other side and he wants to be all fucking gun ho and Napoleon, and he want to shoot you and throw you on the ground while this other cop is talking to you. So you do always see that, and I see it a lot. I see it all the time. I've even seen cops tell their partners like, "Yo, put it down. No need for that. Like, just stop them in their tracks before." So that officer might know that this partner has these tendencies, and again,
That's a big
they
thing.
don't
That's a big thing.
they don't file a complaint, a grievance, like, "Hey, I think, maybe," because you don't want to rat your brother out. It's the same way we doing a crime. You know what I mean? You don't want to rat your boy out.
So that's one
Same
thing.
thing with
Actually, a really good friend of mine down south, very very hard line view on all police officers. For that reason, right there, actually, is that even if it's not this particular guy that's out there, so obviously he has issues with the dirty deeds that some of our law enforcement agents do. But on top of that, there are those partners and those other people in the precinct that know that that dude is out there doing these things, and they're not calling him out. Police who's supposed to police the police, right? Nobody's doing that. So, in his view, anybody that knows about those things that's going on, that's a bad cop too. So he just lumps them all together. If you know about those sort of things and you're not making it come to light, then you're just as bad.
and it happens everywhere. Not let's just keep it 100. It doesn't just happen in the police department.
True.
Me and you be working together, and you could be a little abrupt on. Let's say you're a school teacher, and you could be a little abrupt with students. You could be a little off the charts or a little unorthodox. And I might say to you, "Hey, Josh, man, take it easy on little Joe Schmo over there. He has a disability or something you might have not pinpointed or something I may know." And I might tell you, "Yo, ease up off of him," but I keep it between me and you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, my job as an educator is that if you continue this behavior, obviously you want to address it to him again and then the superiors. But we live in a society where nobody wants to be a rat.
Yeah.
And what happens is, again, I don't want to cost nobody their job because then what happens? It becomes personal.
Yeah.
Yo, this guy ratted me out. So there's a lot of things that go into doing certain things and being treated a certain way. Like I listen, I know cops that actually have spoken about misconducts of other cops and have gotten shitted on.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard about.
They've been sent to like one of the worst precincts, get the worst shift.
Or like meter maid
You know,
duty or something.
they're blacklisted from moving up in rank. So there's a lot that goes involved with that. You know what I mean? Let's say you're a 10-year veteran, you're already halfway vested into your pension, and you know, you get this rogue cop that comes in from another precinct. It's hard to do the job when you can't do certain things because now, you know, some people say, fuck it. I'm gonna have to bear the consequences because I need to, you know, we have to fight for, you know, for this injustice.
Mm-hmm.
But you got more cops willing to sweep that under the rug than you do have cops that are willing to tell on those bad cops. And then you have, this is legit, 100% legit, man. You have so much falsification of crimes and stuff like that due to like the real estate hit now, you know. So if you have a lot of crimes in, like, let's say Dumbo,
Mm.
they don't report purse snatching crimes, those crimes where people get pickpocket. They try to sweep that under the rug so that the statistics look really nice in that precinct.
Mm.
When they own in the real estate, you know, you can charge $2 million for a studio apartment.
And they do.
You understand? And so it happens everywhere. It happens across the board. And you know, unfortunately, it's a numbers game. And I feel bad that, you know, I'm pretty sure there are cops that are willing to say, you know, I need to stop this. But you know, is he going to have to suffer for the millions? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, listen, Jesus sacrificed for all of us, right? I'm not going to put anybody in his shoes, but it has to happen. I mean, even at work, we go through it, and sometimes, you know, we have our partners, and you know, they'll, you know, pull me over, or I'll pull one of them over and be like, "Yo, that was a little OD," you know what I mean? And then it stops there. You know, it's like sometimes you get somebody who pisses you the fuck off, and you want to just hammer them, and then you're like, "Damn, man, that's not my style," because that's not how we approach the job. We approach the job to make sure that every kid that we deal with is safe, and the environment that they're in is safe. So usually when we approach a situation, we're not biased to any adult. We're just here for the children. So we think of children, we don't think of them as color, we think of them as safe. And as long as we believe that they're safe, there should be no issues. But then, you know, you get people that piss you off because they might tell you, oh, I don't know, this is not mine or whatever, and they just try to play the stupid role because they didn't follow protocol.
Mm.
And you know, they expect you to give them okay, no, don't worry about it. No, you're gonna get in trouble because you failed to do the requirement to keep a child safe. So we're not playing that. We're not gonna cut you no
Yeah.
corners, you know.
You know, actually, so
But it,
in regards to like the accountability piece too, I'll say not only is it you know, that individual that feels like they need to come forward, but you also need to be a part. You need to foster an organization that is willing to have those people's backs. And I think the repercussions for coming forward for something like that in a lot of places is like you're on your own. Once you make that step to deviate from what the rest of the flock does, you're on your own to the wolves. But if the organization had your back and you said, you know, like, I saw this, I witnessed this is what needs to happen, and then your supervisor and his supervisor and his supervisor was like, you know what? Thank you for standing up and having the moral high ground and having honor and having courage and having commitment. You know, that.
so I get what you're saying, and it actually, you know, I know a lot of times people have gone to work and it says, uh, you know, you can keep your thing anonymous and all that, and so this is what happens, right? You keep it anonymous. Now the HR person has to investigate the person you're having a situation with, right? But there has to be someone on your management team, you know, whether it be your supervisor, your director, one of those persons has to have some sort of knowledge of what's going to happen because it's a disciplinary act going to come, right? Let's just say that person, which happens often, let's just say that person decides to be a buddy buddy of the person you're complaining
Mm.
against. Information is going to be shared. I've seen it. I know for a fact. I've been a part of it, you know, at several work environments where here you are reprimanding this person or that person, another person puts in a complaint, and then one of the management team, because he's either having an affair or relationships with that person, you know, it leaks
Yeah.
out. It always leaks. And then what happens? There's backlash to that employee. You know, the employee can get, you know, worse shift, hours change, days cut. So it's very effective on what happens, and it's sad because it's very big and it happens a lot in the police
Mm.
department.
I'm kind of lucky actually in that sense because even those situations like you just described, there's a external, not investigator, but there's an external mediator that we can go to talk about these sort of grievances. So if you don't want to talk to your supervisor and you don't want to talk to your supervisor, you can go to this person, this advocate, and they will actually take it straight to the top on your behalf, whether you want it restricted, unrestricted, however you want to approach this sort of investigation. So I mean, maybe something like that's in order too. I know. Honestly, I don't really follow politics that much. I don't really get involved in politics. I don't argue politics. But just since this whole virus thing started happening, I started watching the governor's press conferences. No, not every day, but like every other day, following that. And now that the protests and the rioting started, he's starting to address those issues too. And he actually said something yesterday that was really meaningful to me. Obviously, I'm not like a born in New York State resident, but um, I feel like he actually had some really good things to say about reform and how we need to make these sort of changes, specifically with the police department. Not internal investigations, but have an outside organization investigate police issues, because having the police investigate the police, that's not really going to go anywhere. And bringing your grievances to your supervisor's supervisor, that's probably not going to go anywhere either. So there might be some sort of changes that need to happen in that regard. I think maybe from what I heard from the governor, it sounds like he's got a good idea about how to go forward from here. At least that was something that really gave me like more warm fuzzy feelings about people, where people's heads are at least. But yeah, and just in general though, this is just a really messed up situation. I I also, ever since I have been on social media, Facebook, MySpace, even like America Online chat room, stuff like that. If I ever made like a Facebook friend, I generally don't delete Facebook friends for whatever reason. I have a lot of Facebook friends because we've been acquaintances, we've worked together, we've done whatever together, and I generally don't delete people off that, even if we have differing views on politics or different social issues. But just recently, for whatever reason, it's like the shit really hit the fan. I've seen so many posts from people that's like, I'm this way, I support this, I'm gonna do this, and there's nothing that you can say to convince me otherwise. If you don't agree with me, delete me. I honestly, I can't argue with that. I can't change that. I told myself I wouldn't delete people for political reasons and things of that nature, but if you're not even willing to have a conversation with somebody about something, if you're not willing to discuss your views and your feelings and hear somebody else's side of the story, I got nothing for you. I've actually been like purging the Facebook friends list recently, and that's a first for me. I know it's not all that important, but it's just I've been having to really look at the
So
way I approach things.
I'm going to chime in on this. Um, I believe that now with this situation, um, I think America, well not America, but Minneapolis took really long to act
Mm,
on this, and it caused a lot of tension between people. New York City Police Department went under a lot of fire with a lot of people in different states all over the place. I think governments are still. I think no one wants to accept the fact that the process is bad. And when I say the process, from the
mm,
beginning, I know good people that were disqualified for being police officers that I know for a fact would have made a huge difference in their community, growing up poor and growing up, but because of certain situations, could not get
mm,
in. Maybe a stupid mistake as a teenager or kid. But then you have these kids that I don't know how they slip through the cracks, man.
mm,
I really don't.
mm,
I really don't know how they slip through the cracks. Let's not forget that you have a lot of law enforcement officers committing
mm,
suicide. And I'm going to say a lot of it has to do with the job solely because they see shit that they can't publicly talk about or are afraid to talk about or are involved, and their conscience gets to
Mm.
them. Their conscience really gets to them because they were put in a position to make a decision to help a fellow brother in blue, and here's the
Mm.
consequence. No one's gonna say, yeah, you're right, or but the process has to be revamped. The way we recruit has to be changed. You know, a lot of people worry about quantity and not quality.
Mm.
You have clubs that have hundreds and thousands of members, but I'm pretty sure if you pull out a gun and pop the shot, there might be 10 of them
Mm.
standing. You got some guys that are 20 members strong. You bust a shot and you're gonna have 20 guys standing there. It's everywhere. Not everybody's gonna take the hit. And in law enforcement, again, there are great guys. I know people that have kids. My friends, I have friends' wives. They're in law enforcement. They're not that cop. I can surely say that they're not that
Mm.
cop. Some cops, man, I'm like, man, is that the way you want to? Like, a lot of these cops forget that they party, they hang out, they socialize, they go places. Years ago there was a guy. I think the correction officer was really hard on him when he was in prison, and then he started messing with the guy's wife. What the guy do? The guy ran up on him and shot him in his
Mm.
head. You know what I mean? And so you got to remember that people remember you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're gonna be a to somebody. Just remember that that's gonna come back to you. I mean, if you can just remember that that person that you're being a dick to could be the gentleman who saves your life, your son's life. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I'm gonna say it was Archie Bunker, the guy who played Archie
Mm.
Bunker. He was known to be a big racist
I'm
bigot,
older than I look.
but I'm saying he was known to be a
Mm.
bigot and a racist, and um, a black man saved his son. Saved his son's life. His son was dying, and it woke him up. I mean, it took him 60 some odd years, 70 years to wake up, but he realized that he was adamant about it. That he realized that what he did and the way he felt about people was wrong, and was the way he was raised and stuff like that. But it took that to open his eyes to humanity, and sometimes it's what it is. We talk about this all the time, like the sandbox um, analogy that I use all the time. You put 20 different kids from 20 different nationalities at the age of 3, 4 years old, they're gonna play with each other. They're not gonna look at each other and say, "Well, you're Indian, or you're black, or you're a yellow motherfucker, or you're a nigger, or you're this." No, they're just gonna play in the sand, get fucking dirty, and have a good time.
Mm.
Now, fast forward to 30, 40 years later, those same kids, that's us riding motorcycles. Hey, dude, I
Truth.
got I got a Jew in my I got a two couple of Jews that I ride with. I got a Lebanese Palestinian motherfucker. I got I got Greek. I got Italians. I got I mean, there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Because I see them for their race. I see them for what we've done together. We ride, we have fun. I do charity work with them. So I'm not looking at it like, oh, like you said, we might throw some insensitive jokes, like, when we mess with each other, that
Mm. Mm.
we do it to joke around and just have a good time and understand that, you know, we love each other.
Yeah.
The color of our skin doesn't make us love each other. It's what we have and what we have as a common bond that makes us love each other. We support each other. We're there for each other, and we celebrate life with each other.
So I was actually first. I want to say before I talk about this next little bit, thank you, mom and dad, because as I have gotten older and I look back at my experiences in life and things that you guys provided to me and situations that you put me into, I can see the plot and the plan and the way that you guys orchestrated a lot of things, especially in regards to like race, racial relations or racial tensions, things of that nature. So thank you, mom and dad. I really appreciate what you did for me growing up. For those at home that don't know me personally, I'm of mixed background. My dad's black, my mom's white. So from a really early age, right from the get go, my parents educated me on um, racial issues and the troubles that my father went through, and the troubles that they both went through, even being in a relationship together, and all the obstacles that they had to hurdle just to even have a family and to produce me. And one thing that I realized they did when I was young was that they made sure that whatever school district they put me in was multicultural, and to the extent where, damn man, like I hear people's stories about like where they went to school and like their experiences growing up. I really feel blessed. Like I really had a lot of luck when it comes to my upbringing because when I lived in Texas, I was right outside Dallas. I was in Garland and the Richardson School District, that general area. And the school that I went to, we celebrated people's different ethnicities. We celebrated different backgrounds. One thing we used to have in my elementary school was like this little display case window where in most schools you would see just trophies and ribbons and plaques about all these track and field events and all this other stuff. We had a display case in my elementary school where every month, I believe it was, we celebrated a different holiday of a different culture or a different ethnicity. We could walk up one month and see all about Kwanzaa. We could see the candles. We could see the gourds and the different like fruits and vegetables that you might see decorating a table and information about what the holiday means. Next month, you're gonna see something about Chinese New Year, and you're gonna see little red envelopes about. So it was something that on a regular basis we had a celebration of people's backgrounds. I never experienced, maybe a couple times, but I'd say overall 99.9% of the time I never really had to experience racial prejudice directly, though my parents kind of like conditioned me for it at an early age. I never really had to deal with it. So coming into situations like this where people are fighting in the streets or bad mouthing each other on Facebook about the color of their skin, it just boggles my mind. I just can't wrap my mind around that at all, because even if we have different backgrounds, it's something that we should be happy about. Not that we ignore it. I hate that thing that like people say, I don't see color. I don't like that. I see color. I appreciate your color. I appreciate your background, your heritage, your ethnicity. Let's celebrate it though. Let's not, because we're different, hate each other. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it.
It's funny you said that, you did, shout outs to my parents too. My mom raised us on a weird outlook on life. So we lived in a very bad block. A lot of guns, a lot of crackheads, prostitutes, and all that. And my mom used to always tell me, you treat everybody equal. Color, race, poor, rich, whatever, whore, faggot, crackhead, dope addict, because you never know where you or your kid might end up. I know millionaires that got kids that are fucking heroin addicts. I mean, these are Fortune 500 companies. Andy Reid, Super Bowl winning coach. He had a son, big time heroin addict, committed suicide. You have people like this everywhere. You have people who are child molesters, who are drug addicts, who are fornicators. I mean, everything. It just doesn't happen at one race. So my parents always taught me, treat everyone with respect, because you never know what you might become or what your children. You might have kids and they become drug addicts or they become prostitutes. So you want to people to show them some sort of respect the way you showed that person respect. And even when I was a kid, even the crackheads used to tell my mom, "Oh, your kid is so respectable. He's so nice." I mean, in my head, I'd probably looking at like this bitch teeth are all gone and shit. She like she could suck chrome out of a bumper, but I would treat the person respect. If the person was hungry, I'd say, "Hey, you want something to eat?" You know what I'm saying? If I was selling crack in the street, I'd be like, "Yo, here, take this, get out of here," But you know, and again, those are the things that our parents instilled in us. And again, I also grew up in a multicultural neighborhood. I got Chinatown 5 blocks up. I got Italians to the right of me. I got Mexicans a block up. My business partner's Mexican. Other partners are Guyanese. So I've been in a multi-pot of different things. Even in school, like you said, we celebrate different cultures and Chinese New Year's and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and all that. So I've learned that, because that learning to be like that has opened and broadened my horizon. I've eaten foods from many cultures. I mean, this weekend we had a beautiful Vietnamese spread by one of my members' wife,
Hmm.
uh, Raymond Vidal. We went to visit him over the weekend, and took him out for a ride, and his wife made this spread. I mean, it was amazing, like just great Vietnamese food, and it was really awesome.
Hmm.
On Christmas we have our Hustle King dinner. You got Guyanese food, you have Jewish, you have Palestinian food, Spanish food, Italian pastries.
Damn,
Like, bro,
you're making me
you
hungry
didn't
right now.
if you didn't grow up learning to eat these things because your friends are from this culture, man, you missed out. Like, I was listening to there's a gentleman called Sosa the Ghost. A lot of people have been watching this show, and he was talking about that. The opportunity to just mingle with other races and people. Um, it's kind of dope. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You get to broaden your horizon, and you meet people, and not only the whites are rich, the Jews are rich, the Indians are rich, there's Puerto Ricans that are rich, there's blacks that are rich. And you want to put yourself in those places where you mingle with all these different ethnicities. I mean, I have a friend, and shout outs to DJ Lottie. I met him when I was 18 years old. It was like 25 years ago.
Hmm.
I saved one of his buddies from getting killed, and he hired me to be his personal bodyguard.
Hmm.
And I became Social Security for the Tata Group, which is one of the biggest Indian corporations out in India. And they used to own mad restaurants in New York City, and we used to do all the security for them. And when I first got there, old man, Mr. Mayal, Sikh with the wrap on his head, glasses, big beard, and he was like, "Oh, son, you're gonna be with me for a very long time." And I'm like, "Whatever. This is just like a one-time gig and all that." And he started picking my brain and just conversating with me. And I'm like, "Here's this total stranger who is nothing." And like, I'm dressed in an academic sweatsuit, gold teeth, chain hanging off,
I can see it. I can see it.
and here this guy is talking to me, and he's just like picking my brain. And when he told me I was gonna be with him forever, I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And it's 25 years later, we still communicate. Up to recently, I would go to the restaurant and have lunch with him, and he would wait for me to come on lunch, and he would sit with me and just ask me, "How's your family? How's this? How's
Hmm.
that?" And his son is a big shot attorney in Long Island. His brother is a judge, and they've come to my rescue when I've needed
Hmm.
them for legal advice, property advice, any commercial advice. They have a huge firm, and man, it's a blessing that I've met this man, because this man has been so influential, and that's the problem, that people don't want to do that. I don't think it's more about race. I think it's all about where you come from and where I come from.
Hmm.
And people think where you're from doesn't add up to where I'm from, and you know, I, it's shout out to Mr. Floyd, who passed away unfortunately this week. He was a hardworking guy, honest guy. Some person decided that he was doing forgery. I don't know how she came about that, because I don't know many places that accept checks. And when I used to accept checks in business, you ask for two forms of
Hmm.
ID, you check the ID, you write the driver's license number, you take the address, just like a check casher. If you're taking a check, you have all this information that's on it. If you feel you need to take a photocopy of the driver's license, whatever the case may be, if you're accepting checks, whatever your protocol is, that's it. But for you to incite, hey, there's a guy doing forgery, and you call the cops on him, okay, fine. If you thought he was doing forgery and you call the cops, that's fine. You're entitled to do that if you felt weird. But I'm pretty sure I didn't know the clerk. I didn't see the clerk. I'm pretty sure she's a white clerk, right? So now she calls the cops. Hey, there's a black guy forging checks here. Everybody wants to make a collar, right? Probably where they lived at in Minnesota is not busy. They're looking for anything to make a quick
Hmm.
collar. Now they stop this black guy. So all of a sudden, in their head, they're like, "Oh, this guy is a crook. He's a thief. He's a check forger." So they already went into it with the mindset that this guy was no good. He was a peaceful
Hmm.
guy, and they killed him over apparently writing a forged check. Like, are you
Yeah.
serious? I mean, it goes back to the kid years ago. I think his name was Anthony. Police officer killed him because he threw a football and hit the car. Like, are you
Yeah.
serious?
Damn.
These are cops that come into our neighborhoods and already come prejudgmental.
Hmm.
You know, I'm pretty sure there's cops sitting in a cop car saying, "These little niggas, look at these motherfuckers. All they can do is play basketball and rap." You know
Mm.
what I mean? And they're sitting there watching, waiting for somebody to do something stupid, so that when they pull up, they can be the ultimate dickhead.
Mm.
And then you get the cops that to get out the fucking cop car and shoot hoops with you guys. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I watching a video of Shaquille O'Neal playing hoops with the local sheriff who was
Yeah, I saw that
playing with
too.
the
I
and
think some
jumped
of
out
that's
and they
staged
became.
though. I think some of that's for publicity stunt. You know.
Oh, no, absolutely right. But some of it isn't because I've seen
Yeah.
it. I've seen it. Listen, I remember when I used to play with my four wheelers down on First Avenue. There'd be no traffic, and we used to shoot videos. And police, if they wanted to give us a hard time, they could. They would just tell us, "Yo, keep off the other streets, keep it contained to this little park that was there, like a little open area where there was no traffic, and keep safe."
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because they knew that we were doing nothing wrong. We were just trying to be kids. You know what I mean? Then you have some cops that would come on days and chase us and want to beat us up and take the quads away from us. Same thing when we used to hang out at Fountain Avenue. Everybody knew that Fountain Avenue was where all the guys would do willies and stuff. The police used to go by and say, "Hey guys, keep it safe. Don't come out into the community. Don't go on the grass of the group home. Stay off the highway." And the ones that would do it, then when they would go mess up and then they would send all the cops and the 7-5 police that would come bombard us and lock us up, take our bikes. But 9 out of 10 times they'd let us have fun because we could have been doing other
Mm.
things, selling drugs to people. So, you know, it'd be like
Yeah.
that. So sad.
When I first talked to you this week or the end of last week, probably earlier this week actually, about what we were going to talk about tonight, you had said something about there were some people you wanted to reach out to, that there are some topics we might be able to cover. One of the things you had said was about how bikers can impact this situation or affect this situation. Is there anything specific that you found that you talked to somebody about that you feel like motorcyclists could be unique in the way they approach it, or is it just in general as a civilian, you know?
So I don't get all the motorcycle
Mm.
statistics, but as a brand, Kawasaki and Yamaha tells us how many units the East Coast sells,
Mm.
right? This is just Kawasaki and Yamaha. We sell thousands and thousands of units just between the brands. So when we do like a brand by brand comparison of how many bikes were sold for those two brands, they're in the thousands,
Yeah.
right? Now you have Kawasaki, Yamaha, Ducati, Augusta MV, Aprilia. There's maybe 20, 30 different bikes. So you figure complete motorcycle sales in the East Coast are in the hundreds of thousands. That means there's a lot of motorcyclists that vote because you got to be over 18, right? Got to be over
Mm-hmm.
18. A lot of motorcyclists, not everybody has the same view. Some people vote left, some people vote right. But there are things that certain motorcycle organizations, like a bait, there's a motorcycle organization called a bait. They fight for the rights and they try to pass laws that will help ensure the criminal acts of drivers that kill motorcyclists. And they've been doing this for years. And they've always reached out. They're constantly reaching out to people, and no one really goes to their meetings except their core following that really wants to fight for these
Mm.
rules. But if all these knuckleheads got together, the same way they get together to do a stunt ride, a race ride, they race in Long Island, group rides, a barbecue, anything, a race, anything, get together and bombard your local community leader.
Mm.
Go to his office and say, "Hey, you see this? We're about to go do a stunt ride, but we motherfuckers are 18 and over and we can vote.
Yeah,
What are you going to do for our
that's a
community?
good point.
What are you going to like the community? What are you going to do for minorities or this or that? What are you going to do for the schools?" I've been getting tons of fucking social media hits for our local assembly
Mm.
district. We got 4 people running. I straight up tagged one and I was like, "Yo, who are you? I don't know
Yeah.
you. You're sharing commercials on my social media that you grew up in my neighborhood. You're from my neighborhood. I've never fucking saw you." I said, "I've done multiple charities in my area. I've worked with multiple churches, organizations, people. I never seen you there. I never heard of you."
Yeah.
Now you running for assembly district, and I said, you know, and we had a nice conversation, Miss Walsh and I. We had a very
So
nice
when are you gonna run?
conversation.
When are you gonna take up office?
It's funny you say that. I get that question asked all the time. Politics is a dirty
Mm.
business. There is 4 people on our assembly ballot. I did reach out to this young lady and I asked her to send me her bio and stuff because a lot of the people in my community always ask me, "Hey, who are you voting for? What do you think of this person?" My partner Alberto,
I don't want to know who
the
you're
Garrett.
voting for. I want to know when I can vote for you. That's what I want to know. When are you running?
Anytime soon. Anytime soon. It takes a lot. I went through the routine. I had Diane Savino. She's a part of the state senate. She runs the district in Coney Island and Staten Island, and she actually sat me down and told me what it's needed, money that takes involved. You need to get like a certain amount of donations from a certain amount of people so that the city council board can match the donation. And so there's some work. The checks got to be legit. They can't be, but so much money. So there's a lot of politics that go involved. I do want to do it. I think so. In my job, I need 10 years on the job to have lifetime medical
Mm.
benefits. So in this new career path, if I can finish up my time, then I'll probably look into the politics because even as a politician, New York City politician, that continues your city
Yeah.
time. So it goes towards your retirement. Um, but I don't want to go into office and then maybe lose in the next election, and then I'm out of a city job and I don't have the time in for, partial pension and lifetime benefits. So I just want to get the lifetime benefits before I make that
Make a
move.
smart move, man. That
Uh,
yeah, you don't have to ruin stuff. But it's
yeah, yeah,
okay.
no,
You should take
absolutely.
your time anyway because I don't know if New York's ready for you yet. I don't know. You might be a little too raw for them right now.
You know, I mean, there is some changes. There is some. I mean, I have some police that I've spoken to about how we can educate police officers, citizens, people, and it's hard because even those police officers that are willing to work and listen to my
Mm.
plan, the brass tells them no, don't get involved, don't do this. So I hear a lot of the backlash from the brass, like they won't tell me who said it, but they'll say no, this guy doesn't think it's a good idea at this time or whatever. But if you have people from the community wanting to work with you to help the city understand how we can move better, why not take that
Yeah.
advice? We're not asking you to watch us because we're going to loot and riot. We're trying to form a bond so that people can see that there's a way of fixing it and no one wants to come to the table.
Yeah.
This many times I've tweeted de Blasio and sent an email to his office like, hey, maybe we can sit together and come to an understanding how bikers can be treated better in New York
Mm.
City. There's bikers that own businesses, that are real estate moguls, that are parents, there are teachers, they're police officers, they're city workers, but yet we're targeted. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I understand that the 20% fucks it up for the 80%, but maybe we can sit down with a plan that we can help each other understand each other better. Uh, some sort of mechanics, a write-up program where you're not just pulling everybody over, or there's like a card that you can have on your driver's license that says you've been through like a vigorous inspection and you're a law-abiding biker, whatever. Just let's have a sit
Mm.
down and just explain or talk out how we can do things better. But no one ever wants to do that because no one ever wants to see good. Everybody likes the bad.
Mm.
And I think because they profit off of it, it's just the way it
Yeah.
works.
It's true.
No one ever profits off of good. Everybody profits off of bad.
It's true. It's true. So yeah, damn man. There's so much. I like talking to you too. You have such a great point of view, great philosophy on things. I wish we could talk about this more. Well, we can talk about this more, but um,
Well, if you come to the track June 20th, you could talk about it.
shit. Which brings me to my next topic, actually. Man, so you put me in touch with your boy, right? About getting some work done on the street bike on the ZX10, and I sent him a message. I told him what I wanted it done, and he's like, "All right, bet. Order the parts. Let me know when you get the parts, and we'll make it happen. Whatever." And I talked to him on like a Wednesday. I was waiting for my tires to come in. Tires came in pretty quick. They actually came in the following Monday. But I started adding stuff to my shopping cart on. I'm not gonna throw out a site, but I put stuff in the shopping cart on one site, and then once I went to check out, it said, lead time 3 weeks for the valve cover gasket. I was like, oh shit, 3 weeks. I don't want to wait 3 weeks. So then I went to another site and I started adding everything to my shopping cart. And then it said there's like, I guess it's maybe like when you take the valve cover gasket off, or when you take the valve cover off, there's other little gaskets maybe for the spark plugs that you have to replace. They didn't
Mhm.
have they didn't have four in stock. They had three in stock, so I had to wait for one. And I sent you a message to your boy again, and I was like, "Hey, best I can do is 3 weeks of lead time on the valve cover gasket." And he's like, "Oh man, don't go through those guys. Go through." Well, I'll just go ahead and say this one. He said, "Go ahead and go through Bike Bandit." And I was like, "Okay, I've never used Bike Bandit before. I'll go to bikebandit.com. I'll put in all the stuff, add it to my shopping cart." There was no message that said it was gonna take goddamn a year to get here, but went to check out, sent me the email, and it said, "Hey, thanks for your order. You'll get an email shortly with your tracking and shipment confirmation."
Bullshit.
That has been 2 weeks now. 2 weeks now, just waiting on a shipment confirmation. I don't know. I guess they're probably waiting for all the parts to be available before they ship it out to me. But
Well,
damn,
this is
man.
this is this is something I deal with every day at the dealership, right?
God.
So I might have a part in stock or available next day, and some my people might not want to pay retail. And I hear I'm gonna order it online and it come in two
Yeah, good
days,
luck.
and then I get this.
Good luck.
Yo, I've been waiting weeks for the fucking
Yeah.
part, and then the bike's sitting in the back, and they're mad because we're not fixing the
Yeah.
bike. Yeah, because you want to wait 3 weeks to save $20 when you could have just paid the regular price and had your bike out 2 days later.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I mean, I've always had to pay for convenience.
Well, and also, don't forget, when I hit you up initially, it was because they had told me over there that I would have to wait just a week to get my bike in the shop. And when I told you that, you're like, "Man, holler at this dude. He'll get you in real quick."
If you would have had all the parts
True.
already, you could have went Sunday and been out Wednesday the latest.
I got you. Well, I'm still waiting. So, in regards to going to the track, don't get me wrong. I really want to be there. A couple weeks ago, you made me super jealous going out there without me. But the track bike still, I haven't gotten the rear sets. I haven't gotten the handlebar. I haven't gotten fairings. Well, I got some cheap Chinese fairings that I probably could throw on there for a track weekend, but I don't have the other stuff that I need to get the track bike on the track. And then the ZX10, which I've never had on a track, and I really haven't even pushed it to its limits yet. I just got tires, and I'm waiting on the other parts. So I'm pretty much dead in the water right now. My 636 is in another state. I leave that at my parents' house. So whenever I go visit my parents, I got something to ride while I'm up there. But yeah, the two bikes that I have here, they're like dead right now to me.
You get something in the mail, we'll be around.
Yeah.
You could always, I mean, you still have 10 days, 11 days to get
True.
stuff. So
True.
hopefully, if it pops up, we'll get you right in. You make the call. That Saturday, Sunday, we can expedite it. Just let me know, and I'll put pressure on the guys. They'll take care of me. They always take care of me.
Yeah.
So we'll be all right. But yeah, we're going up June 20th. A big, huge group of us. I've been riding with this guy named Alex. He's Ukrainian, and he hangs out with these Polish guys. They're expert at the track. And then, got my buddy Roger coming down. Hopefully Pete Schweitzer come down. I know June. Actually, today was a track day up at New York Safety with certified knee draggers, Easy 22, and Team Fast Life. They got another one on the 24th. New Jersey Motorsport is open, but it's only to Riders Club members. So
on the 20th, where are you going? New York Safety?
Yeah, I'm going to New York Safety.
Okay.
Definitely, we have to do Roebling together. Like, I definitely want to.
Yeah, you said that. You mentioned that.
I have a trailer. A friend of mine's got a trailer that we can use, so I can put one bike in the pickup and put your bike on the trailer, and then we can just load our bags on the side. Because if I put both bikes on the trailer, I really don't have any space in the truck. So if with the trailer, I can load a lot of stuff into the trailer of the truck part. So if robbling is an idea you want to do, I'm definitely down for that.
Definitely. You know what? Actually, I said it in one of my videos that I put out about Roebling, but a guy I used to work with here in New York moved to Georgia. That's where like his family is. That's where he's from. So he moved back to Georgia, and when I went down there, I went to go visit him. I was really hoping. I gave him a lot of lead time. I gave him like 2 weeks lead time when I bought my ticket to actually go to that track day. I was like, "Yo, man, I'm gonna be down there. I'm going to the track. You should join me." And he did not get a tracksuit. He didn't get the bike situation figured out. So I ended up going by myself. But go ahead.
Well, go because Benny just moved
Yeah,
down there.
they're in the
I
same city, man. They're
yeah,
in the
and
same city.
my brother's down there as well, and then my boy Anthony, he's also down there. So definitely we go down there, make a definitely a weekend out of it. Definitely invest in a custom tracksuit.
Hmm.
I can I cannot tell you how amazing you know, having to deal with a new suit and a new bike is very difficult. The fact that I only had to deal with the new bike and not the tracksuit made it so much more easier.
Really?
And again, I bought a GSXR just to taste the waters. I am never going to be satisfied riding a GSXR. I tried, adjusted rear sets, I adjusted suspension. I did everything possible not to blame the bike. I got on this new ZX6 I just bought. Holy Jesus Christ. I've never done past 80 to 90 on the Belt Parkway because I fear the Bay Parkway. It's a suicide run.
Hmm.
I got on it the other day. It was empty as fuck. And I had the throttle pinned from, from JFK to like Coney Island.
Yeah.
Straight
Good
pinned.
20 miles right there.
I was weaving like I was at the track. And I'm like, this bike cannot be this fucking comfortable.
Hmm.
Most comfortable bike I've ever in my life ridden.
What year is it again?
2019
Okay.
ZX6.
Okay.
Up to now, the CBR 600 was one of the most comfortable and nimblest bikes I've ever ridden. On top of the ZX10, of course, which is my bike of choice. But this particular bike, it was just, I can't wait to put it on the
Yeah.
track. I am going to put it on the track because there's no way that the rider that was at the track the last time and the rider that's going to go in the ZX6 will do the same
Hmm.
times. I know I am going to slaughter my times. That's how good this bike is, man.
You know what? Actually, not to dig too deep into like track setups right now, but I think I've told you before. I know I've talked to many people about it before. I got the ZX636 and the ZX10, both the same generation. The ZX6 is a 2003, and my ZX10 is a 2005. I like old bikes, by the way. For anybody out there, I like older bikes, but they're basically the same bike, except one's got a bigger motor. I went from one to the other, sitting on them, just like I didn't even change bikes. It felt exactly the same. And even though that is the case, I'll tell you, as far as track use, I would still prefer my 636 over the ZX10. Hands down.
Yeah,
Every day, any day. Yeah.
absolutely. I prefer. I mean, I've always preferred the Honda CBR until I rode this thing, and it was great. But well, it's been well.
Yeah.
It's about that time.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining in. I really appreciate you being here. We didn't really have a certain set direction we were going tonight, but uh, there's a lot of stuff going on in our community, in our world, and I feel like we'd be doing ourselves and doing viewers a disservice by just ignoring the fact. I think the reason that we're in the position that we're in right now is because for decades people have been ignoring the fact. So that's not what we need to do. We should address things and talk about them and put them out there. Obviously, we're not able to solve everybody's problems with what we talked about tonight, but at least we got it out there. At least we got to talk about things. Talk about the issues, by the way. That's another thing I would like to recommend to people viewing, whether it be right now live or on replay. Talk about these issues with people, please. And don't talk about somebody that, your twin. Talk about these sort of issues with somebody that might have a different background, different view, different experience than you do, because I promise they will be passionate about things in a different way than you will be. And again, you don't have to agree, you don't have to, you know, have total empathy for what they are trying to say, but just being able to sit and talk to somebody, you'll realize they're human beings, they have feelings. What do you got, Butter? Closing comments.
If there's one thing I can say for us is we have to really look deep into our next mayor and who's running for mayor. And us as a community need to stronghold that potential candidate and short him the votes, but we need to hold him accountable that we have one of our own leading the police department. You can't have a guy from LA or a guy that used to be here. You got to change from the top.
Mm.
If you don't change it from the top, you're never going to get results. We need a new mayor that's going to come down and say, look, these are the potential candidates. There's a lot of great candidates out there in the police department. Trust me, I've worked hand in hand for multiple charitable events that will be the choice for the people. That is what we need to do. I think next week's show, I spoke to the president and the vice president of Abate, Jamie R1. He assured me that he will definitely love to be a guest next week
Okay.
with his. He just wanted to run it by his president what we were going to do. I think that's a good place to start. Maybe have people start attending Abate meetings. Um, they're productive. There's stuff that's there that you need to know. But I think the most important thing is to us as a community, us as people, need to get on the next mayoral candidate and ask for a change from the top if put into office and hold them accountable to that.
That makes a lot of sense. Accountability is a big thing. I think a lot of people could benefit from a little bit more accountability too. All right, so again, thanks for joining in, people. I really appreciate you. Subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a thumbs up. We do a show every week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock, Beyond the Apex on my YouTube channel, Eastern Standard Time. Not always about such serious topics, but like I said in the beginning, this is something that we kind of needed to talk about this evening. Usually we just talk about motorcycle, whatever. Um, as I usually say, leave this world better than you found it. It means a lot more right now, too. I promise you that. Peace.
Peace.